Hi, this is Janie Lewis. My blog is papercompulsions.blogspot.com. My email is papercompulsions@gmail.com. I make a lot of handmade paper flowers, and I have a few picture tutorials on my blog, but some of them are really detailed and I didn't really have the words to describe what I do to them. So I finally got a video camera, and I thought I would share with you some pictures of a few of my flowers and the tools that I use to make them. Here you can see the roses. Paper roses. I'm going to zoom in. This is my very first video, so I am sure there is a learning curve. This is another rose that's just a different color. And this one has a tight center. It's curled and rolled tightly in the center. I have some other roses that are called the open rose, but these are pretty big and chunky. You have to have a 3D project to work on, or something where you can have a lot of bulk, because these get pretty thick by the time you put all those layers on top. This is the same one, just a little bit smaller. I make my own SVG cut files, and I also make templates that you could print out using Adobe Reader. They're PDF templates. And they will either be available on my blog, or some of them will be on my Etsy store to purchase and download. I will be showing a video very soon of my poinsettias. They turn out really pretty. And you can put them on cards or scrapbooks or 3D projects. I'll probably, after that, start on some of the easier flowers. This is what I call an easy flower, because it's just basically a 5-point flower petal shape that you just do a little bit of work on, and they turn into really pretty flowers. I make the leaf SVG files for those also. Some of the files I put pearls in the center. I'm sorry, some of the flowers. And some of the flowers I put rhinestones in the center. See that one. This is another easy flower. It just uses several layers of a spidery type flower, and I'll show you how to curl those to bring them up, but it's a pretty easy one. If you have a die cut machine, a digital die cut machine, you can use the SVG files that I make. If you have just the Tim Holtz die, then this is from the Tattered Flowers or Tattered Florals die cut. You would use 2 of the bigger flowers and 2 of the smaller flowers for this, but I made a cut file for it, and so I can scale them down and make them any size I want. On this one, I turn those middle flowers up, and I put seed beads in the center. And then I do another one of those where I turn that middle flower down, and then I just put pearls in the center of this. But that way it cuts down on some of the bulk. These stand up a little bit more because the center is turned up, and this lies flat, and I don't have a problem mailing this. I put a piece of cardstock over it in my envelope when I go to mail these. The cut file for the bird cage and the bird and this shape were all from Melinda over at Cooking with Cricut or Paper Crafting World. I also used, this was my open rose. I used the same cut file to do what I call an open flower. It's pretty easy. You just use 3 of the petal shapes and curl them. Some of the centers I'll want to color, so this one I just used a yellow Sharpie marker and colored the center. You could use alcohol ink but this was just easier for me. The yellow Sharpie was next to me, and it was a lot easier. Okay, most of the flowers I make, I start out with plain white cardstock. Actually, this is index weight. I get it in an office supply store. I'll put the name up there. It's, I'm not sure how to say that, W-A-U-S-A-U, exact index. That's what it will have on the package, and it's 110 pound or 110 weight. And this is a really sturdy cardstock. I color it with distress inks and the blending tool. But you can start out with colored cardstock, but you have to be kind of careful. Some brands of cardstock will hold up to all the manipulating you're going to be doing to these little flowers, and some just won't. And it is so disappointing when you work all this time on a petal or a flower, and at the very end it starts coming apart and the layers separate on you. I know from experience, but I usually don't have a problem with this cardstock. And I just cut the shapes out of it. Oh, I have a few more flowers I forgot to tell you about. This is a distressed daisy with a pearl center. This is what I call a pretty flower, for lack of a better name. And this is one of the very first ones that I made and started out with, and I just was calling it a pretty flower. I use rhinestones in the centers of those a lot. Sometimes pearls. This is a loose rose. It uses this same tattered florals, the larger flower shape, but I make these much smaller. And I don't curl the centers of these flowers. I just leave them loose and put seed beads in the center. So that's a little bit easier. Okay, some of the tools that I use. Some wide. Sorry. I'll get the hang of this. I use a stylus. This is a stylus. It's a metal tool with balls on the end so that you can do what you call dry embossing, just putting pressure down. I use a rubber mat. This was part of a set that came with my computer mouse pad, and this was like the wrist guard or wrist support when you were typing. We don't really use it for that, so I just turn it over and use it for shaping my flowers. I just put them on there. And the stylus, you take the ball and just do circles around. I'll describe that later. This was a stylus from an old Fisker's embossing light box set that I got ages ago. It works fine. I used this for a lot of years. But since I do so many flowers, I went ahead and upgraded to the McGill Stylus paper flower shaping tool set. I got this from Paper Wishes for about $15, and it was worth it to me because I make a lot of flowers, and this has the larger ball sizes, and it just makes your work that much quicker. You could also find plastic styluses in the clay and sculpting department of a craft store that work just well too. I also use a paper piercer or needle tool. This is a paper piercer. It's like a needle on the end with the handle on it so that you can shape your petals. I use this for practically every craft I do to punch holes with, so I already had this. But if you don't have one of those, you can start out with the handle of a paintbrush. As long as it's round and smooth and fairly small, it will work just fine. If you don't have that, a bamboo skewer or a knitting needle will work just fine to get you started with. And of course I use my non-stick surface for when I do all my inking. I also use glue. I know a lot of people use a hot glue gun. I just use Aleene's tacky glue, and I put it in a smaller bottle. And I know it seems strange. debated for a long time on whether to buy this little glue bottle, because you basically buy an empty glue bottle for about $5. But it has a really narrow metal tip, and it is great for flowers and quilling and lots of paper crafting. When you're not using it, it comes with a stainless steel straight pin that you just stick in the end of the nozzle so it doesn't, the glue doesn't dry and get stuck in there. When you are using it, I just take a regular kitchen sponge. This was a scrub sponge, and I poked a hole, but I use it so much the hole's worn out. And when I eventually wear this completely out, I'll get another one. They're cheap. I squirt it with water from a misting bottle, or you can just run it under the sink. You take the pin out, I put it in the sponge so that you can locate it, and then you let it stand upside down with the water keeping the tip of it moist so that the glue doesn't dry inside of it while you're working. Because it is so narrow, if you just leave it out, the glue will start to dry and it will get clogged up and you'll have to clean it out. So I just keep it upside down in a moist sponge to keep it from drying out, and I use it all the time, so it does really well. And that is it. I will be doing some videos really soon on how to do these paper flowers. Most of the videos I will have SVG die cut for digital die cutting machines. If you don't have a digital die cutting machine, some of them I can tell you how to get that shape on a Cricut and one of the cartridges. I also make PDF templates that you can download and print out. This is for the poinsettia. It's for that flower. And if you don't have a machine with Sure Cuts a Lot or Make the Cut that allows you to use a digital die cutting machine to cut these out, you could just get an oval shape, 5 oval shapes, and stack them around and put a circle in the center and weld that together. Or you can just find a flower that has a tip, a flower end that looks similar to that. And for the petals you would need a large, medium, and small of that shape, and for the leaf I take the large shape and cut it in, for the leaves for green. And then the stamen pieces, the little pieces that go in the very center of the flower, you could use a spidery like paper punch or sun or even a snowflake and get the same effect. So I hope you like it. I will be doing some tutorials soon. Please leave a comment and let me know what I need to work on to how's the lighting and the audio and all that good stuff. If you want to subscribe, my YouTube username is Loves Paper Crafts. I had this account long before I had my blog, so and now I can't change the username to Paper Compulsions. So my blog is Paper Compulsions, but my username on YouTube is Loves Paper Crafts. Thank you.